Today we're going to talk about the placement of smoke alarms. Now, in previous videos, I talked about determining the location of smoke alarms. So that's in bedrooms, right outside of bedrooms, and then one on every floor. That's our general rule. Now, what do we do when it comes to actually placing those smoke alarms? So to talk about that, I'm going to utilize a fact sheet here that comes from NFPA link, and we're going to talk about the specific placement. The smoke alarms can be placed on the ceiling, or as you see here, they can be placed on the wall as long as the top of the detector is within 12 inches or 300 millimeters of that ceiling. So that shows where that looks like there. So that's where they can be placed, on the ceiling or on the wall. Now, there's some rules of where we can and cannot place smoke alarms within spaces. The first one being is we want to make sure that that smoke alarm is within temperatures and humidities that smoke alarm can withstand. Typically, we're looking at between 40 degrees Fahrenheit or 4.4 degrees Celsius and 100 degrees Fahrenheit or 38 degrees Celsius. So look at the temperature. Also pay attention to the humidities. Look at the manufacturer's published instructions when you're putting them in locations that would exceed those. The next one is going to be within the flow path of a fixed cooking appliance. So think about a stove. If we're within 20 feet or 6.1 meters of that stove, we need to start paying attention to what type of smoke alarm we're using. The first rule is let's try to be as far away from that as possible. If we have to be within that 10 foot to 20 foot range, we want to make sure that that smoke alarm has been listed by a third-party testing agency for resistance to nuisance cooking alarms. Now, we want that because we don't want it going off because we're cooking something and it sets off that smoke alarm. And we know that the number one cause of someone not being alerted by a smoke alarm is actually by them either taking the batteries out or taking that smoke alarm down. And if it's near a cooking appliance and it keeps going off, the occupant might take that smoke alarm down or take the batteries out. So that's why we want to make sure it's listed and it's not going to go off for all those cooking appliances. Now, if we have to be within 10 feet of that cooking appliance because the actual size or the configuration of that space doesn't allow us to be further away, then we have to make sure that we're at least we're not within 6 feet or 1.8 meters of that cooking appliance. But we can't be within that 6 foot to 10 foot or 1.8 meters to 3.0 meters range unless the configuration of our dwelling unit doesn't allow us to be within there. So paying attention to that for around kitchens. The best thing to do is just make sure that we're as far away from that cooking appliance as we possibly can be. And then there's a couple other things to pay attention to. If we're going to be near a bathroom, we want to make sure we're at least 36 inches or 910 millimeters away from that bathroom door. Again, unless that smoke alarm is specifically listed for proximity near the bathroom. Because we want to be that distance away is because we don't want that bathroom filling up with steam from a shower or someone opening the door and setting off that smoke alarm. So that's why we're paying attention to that 36 or 910 millimeters. And then again, we want to be within 36 inches or 910 millimeters away from any HVAC register that could be blowing air on that smoke alarm, because we want to make sure that that's not going to impede the flow of the smoke to that smoke alarm. And then finally, if we're within a room and we have a fan, a ceiling fan, we need to be at least 36 inches or 910 millimeters away from the tip of that ceiling fan. Now, we are able to get closer than that, provided it's that the room configuration doesn't allow us to be any further than that. So pay attention to the location to HVAC registers as well as ceiling fans, because that airflow is going to have an impact on whether or not smoke can get into the chamber of those smoke alarms. So that's a little bit about placement rules for smoke alarms. I'm going to link a blog below that kind of goes over selecting smoke alarms and all that. Make sure you subscribe to the NFPA YouTube channel. I've got a couple other videos where I talk about smoke alarm location and placement. So that would be helpful. And don't forget, stay informed and stay safe.